change and reduce bugs.
Please confirm you can see my screen and you can hear the audio. Can you see the screen and can you hear the audio? Hello?
Yes.
Okay. So please let's pay attention to this video. It talks about the extreme programming, and then we'll come back immediately after the video. Okay. All right. So I'm going to mute myself so that there's no noise, and then play the video.
All at once. Hi, I'm Andrew from PM Aspirant. If you're new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button for more tips on project management and certification learning. Today we're talking about Extreme Programming, or XP, an agile framework that helps teams produce high-quality software quickly while embracing change and improving collaboration. If you're managing software development projects, XP could be a game changer. Extreme Programming is a software development methodology focused on customer satisfaction, adaptability, and high-quality code. It emphasizes continuous delivery of small, functional parts of a project and promotes constant feedback from customers and team members. The goal is to stay flexible, improving the process as you go. Before we get into the nitty-gritty practices, let's cover the 5 core values that define XP. These values are the foundation for how teams operate in an XP environment. 1. Communication. XP fosters open and constant communication among team members, customers, and stakeholders. Whether it's through pair programming or daily stand-ups, communication helps keep everyone aligned and reduces misunderstandings. 2. Simplicity. XP encourages simplicity in both design and decision-making. You focus on solving only the immediate problems and avoid overcomplicating the system with unnecessary features. The idea is to keep things simple, efficient, and easy to adapt later on. 3. Feedback. Continuous feedback is a critical part of XP. From running automated tests to gathering customer input, feedback ensures that the team is always moving in the right direction and that any issues are addressed early. 4. Courage. XP teams are encouraged to make bold decisions, like refactoring code or revisiting design choices when needed. Courage also means being honest when things aren't working and embracing change even when it's challenging. 5. Respect.
Still copy-pasting from another AI tool? Your AI should work everywhere you work. And that's why Grammarly is...
Respect underpins everything in XP. Every team member, regardless of their role, is valued and respected for their contributions. This culture of respect helps create a collaborative, supportive environment where ideas are freely shared. Now, let's talk about the 12 practices that make XP work in real-life projects. These practices provide a framework for how the team collaborates, writes code, and delivers software. 1. The planning game. In XP, planning is divided into 2 parts: release planning and iteration planning. Release planning. The customer and team prioritize the user stories or requirements that should be included in the next release. This helps set clear goals and expectations for the project. Iteration planning. The team plans the work for the upcoming iteration, usually lasting 1 to 2 weeks, focusing on delivering the highest priority stories. 2. Small releases. Rather than waiting months for a big release, the XP team aims to release small, functional chunks of the software frequently. This helps ensure that the customer gets value early and can provide feedback on each iteration. 3. Metaphor. In XP, a metaphor is a shared, simple story that describes how the system works. Think of it as a mental model that guides everyone on the team. It's not a detailed design, but a high-level idea that helps developers understand how the system fits together. 4. Simple design. XP advocates for the simplest design that works. The goal is to build only what's necessary right now, avoiding over-engineering. This way, the system can evolve as the requirements change or become clearer. 5. Test-driven development. relies heavily on test-driven development, TDD, which means writing tests before writing the code. Developers write unit tests that define the behavior of the software, and then write code to pass those tests. This ensures the code is reliable and bug-free from the start. 6. Refactoring. Refactoring means continuously improving the code without changing its behavior. In XP, developers refactor code to simplify it, improve performance, or remove redundancy. This keeps the code clean and maintainable over time. 7. Pair programming. In pair programming, two developers work together at the same workstation. One writes the code while the other reviews it in real time. This practice not only improves the quality of the code, but also enhances collaboration and knowledge sharing. 8. Collective code ownership. With XP, collective code ownership means that any developer can modify any part of the code at any time. There's no single person who owns a specific part of the code base, so the entire team shares responsibility for the project. This encourages collaboration and prevents bottlenecks. 9. Continuous integration. In XP, teams integrate their code frequently, usually multiple times a day. With continuous integration, every time a developer commits new code, it's automatically tested and merged into the main code base. This helps catch integration problems early and ensures that the system is always in a working state. 10. 40-hour work week. XP encourages a sustainable pace for developers. The 40-hour work week practice means that developers should maintain a reasonable work-life balance and avoid burnout. Overtime is allowed in emergencies, but it should never become the norm. 11. On-site customer. An on-site customer is an actual customer, or a representative, who works closely with the team. This person provides immediate feedback, clarifies requirements, and helps set priorities. Having direct access to the customer helps the team make better decisions and ensures the project stays aligned with customer needs. 12. Coding standards. Finally, XP teams follow consistent coding standards to ensure that the code is clean, readable, and maintainable. By adhering to a common set of coding practices, the team can collaborate more effectively and avoid issues that come from inconsistent code. So why use extreme programming? It's particularly useful in environments where requirements are likely to change or where the team needs to deliver high-quality software under tight deadlines. The frequent feedback loops and small releases allow for quick course corrections, and practices like pair programming and test-driven development ensure high code quality. XP also helps build a strong, collaborative culture where everyone is responsible for the project's success. Plus, the focus on sustainable work practices, like the 40-hour work week, promotes a healthy work-life balance. That said, XP isn't without its challenges. Practices like pair programming or having an on-site customer can be difficult to implement in some teams or organizations. It also requires a high level of discipline to maintain practices like TDD and continuous integration. However, when implemented well, XP can significantly improve both the quality of the software and the working environment for developers. If you'd like to learn more about project management methodologies like XP, check out pmaspirant.com for more learning resources.
Okay. Thank you so much. I believe that we have been able to pick a thing or two from this video that I just shared, basically giving us a brief overview of SP as a system and everything that it entails, basically. So we'll just go ahead. I'm going to now go into the course proper. I'm sure that you've picked up one or two things, and then we can run from there. So just like you've seen, XP, which is the short version of it, is called Extreme Program, right? And XP is the short version of it. Basically, it's basically a kind of a system of developing or development method, basically based on frequent cycles. Like it basically talks about bringing out features in a frequent cycle in its simplest form, you're doing it in its simplest form, and you're applying the best practice consistently and continuously all through throughout the project. SP is very important. It helps to to provide key softwares, and the beautiful thing is it also helps in terms of redundancy, in terms of having more people, more than one person working on a particular code, and it makes everything very easy. It does this with its core values. The core values of XP talk about simplicity, basically reducing complexity, reducing extra features, reducing waste, right? Find the simplest thing that could work, that could possibly work, right? We're trying to do this. What's the simplest thing that could possibly work is what XP is trying to do. Another core value is communication, where team members know what is expected from them and what other people also expect from them. They have their daily stand-up meetings, which is a very key part of the communication. Then feedback, another core value, talks about giving impressions of correctness early, because part of what you will see is that there's a customer part, which is more like the product owner, that's always there to tell them, okay, at this point you're on point or you're not. So feedback is important. Courage allows our work to be entirely visible to others, right? So because they use pair programming, which basically means two people or more than one person is working on a particular code at a particular time, to ensure that the code is correct. One person is coding, the other person is checking, reviewing. So courage and respect. Respect basically talks about people who work together as a team, and everyone is accountable for the success of the project. So we recognize that different people have different areas, but we work differently, but we respect each other's differences. So majorly these are the key core values that we have in extreme programming. Then we have some roles, basically coach, which is more like the scrum master in the scrum. Um, the coach acts like a mentor, basically guiding the process and helping the team, stay in line, basically facilitating and making sure that the team is effective, everyone is effective. We have the customer, who is more like the product owner in Scrum, who basically is like a business representative that provides requirements and also gives feedback as you provides priority, gives feedback to as the development is ongoing. Then we have the programmers, which are basically like the development team, the developers who build the product or write the code, right? Then we have testers, who are like the quality assurance guys, the QA guys, who help the customers to define and write acceptance tests and for the user stories that have been provided. So, like I said, the product owner is more like the customer, and then the scrum master is more like the coach here in XP. XP has some core practices, right? It has 12 core practices. We have the whole team working together to ensure that everything goes fine. We have planning games, basically planning iteration and planning the different things that will happen in course of the events. Then we have test-driven development. I'm going to explain them one by one. Pair programming, continuous integration, simple design, metaphor, small releases, sustainable pace, code standards, collective ownership, continuous integration, and customer test, right? So these are the core practices of extreme programming, right? The first one, which is the whole team, right? The extreme programming team members are co-located, right? We have generalizing specialists, not a role specialist. So what that means is that we we have members of the team that somehow understands what other people are doing. So it's not just like he's a generalizing specialist. He has his own core area, or the team member has their own core area, but they also understand what other members of the team are doing. So we have a whole team that are generalizing specialists, not a particular role, specialists in a particular role. And then we have efficient and sharing of information, which is key for the whole team. Then we have the planning activities, which we call the games, right? There are two things they plan for. They plan for release and they plan for iteration. Release basically talks about pushing new functionality, right, to production. Um, they plan for it. The developers will estimate how difficult it is for the build, and then for the customer, who is like the product owner, will outline the functionality required, and then in that meeting, the developer will then estimate the difficulty and all that. Then we have the iteration planning, which basically talks about short development cycles within a release. So short development cycles within a release, which is usually called sprints, right? In Scrum. It's conducted at every start of iteration, like, or every 2 weeks, and then customers explain functionality they would like in the iteration. The customer in this case is more like a product owner, right? In the other space, and then developers break functionality into tasks and estimate work. Now, based on the estimates and amount of work accomplished in the previous iteration, then we have small release, which is another core practice. Just like the name implies, frequent small releases to test environment, so that you can always keep checking and ensure that the quality is maintained as you continue, right? And then we also have customers test. So the customers, who in this case the product owner is the one that tests to show that the software is working. So the team builds automated tests to prove that software is also working. Then, like I mentioned earlier, we have collective code ownership. So any pair of developers can improve or amend any code. So it's not a system where it's only one person that has full autonomy. Any pair of developers can improve or amend any code. Now, multiple people work on all codes, which results in increased visibility and knowledge of the code base. So different people can work on it. We know whoever is cooking the beans, now they can easily see it, and then it leads to higher level of quality. And with more people looking at the code, we have greater chance of reducing defects, right? And if there's defect, can quickly be discovered. And then less risks if the programmer leaves. Since if one of the imagine if only one person handles your code and that person leaves, what then happens? So if the programmer leaves, there's knowledge is shared, and everything keeps going as planned. Then we have code standard. So the another important practice in extreme programming is that everybody follows a consistent code that is simple and everybody can read through. So there's a standard code, follow a consistent code standard. Then we have sustainable pace, where while the period of time, so I think they do 40 hours, right, in terms of their planning, so that people are not overworked, right? Um, while people do overtime, it's not an encouraged practice. So a sustainable pace of development is also a very core practice of extreme programming. The metaphor talks about a simpler way of breaking down or explaining the design so that everybody can understand. Can use things like as like similes and all that to explain so that everybody can easily understand it in the simplest possible way. Then we have continuous integration, which means the different codes that are people are building, or different members of the team can easily compile them, and then they can then work together to solve the problem. Then we have also another core principle is test-driven development. What that means is that before you even start developing, you have written the test cases, um, different things that we should see to confirm that this thing is working. So when they're developing with those test cases in mind, and then the code, once it passes the test, you know that it is written correctly. Then pair programming, which I mentioned, that in XP production code is written by two developers, working as a pair to write and provide real-time reviews of the software as it continues. So working in pairs helps you to spread knowledge, people understand the system, not just one person, and then you guys can move faster. Then we have simple design, like I said, your code is always testable, your code is browsable, your code is understandable, and is explainable. You want to do the simplest thing. You don't want to do things that are too complex. Your best architecture, best requirements, and design emerge from organizing teams. Then we have refactoring, which means remove redundancy, eliminate unused functionality, and rejuvenate obsolete designs, right? And then we talk about refactoring throughout the entire project lifecycle that saves time and helps to increase quality, right? Code is always kept clean and concise, so it's easier to understand and extend. So in terms of the agile terminologies between Scrum and Extreme Programming, this is just a slide that shows you the key things you see. So in Scrum, it's called sprint. In Extreme Programming, it's called iteration. Basically, talks about a fixed length or period of time or a time box where you actually do the coding itself, right? Then we call it release in Scrum. We call it small release. Basically, release to production is what they mean. For Scrum, we call it sprint planning or release planning, and then in extreme programming we call it planning game, basically talking about they are all planning meetings to help you know what you're going to be picking up next. Then we, just like we've said, for Scrum is product owner. For extreme programming we call them customers, but basically they are all the business representatives on the project. Then for Scrum, we call it retrospective. And then for extreme programming, it's called reflection, which basically talks about lessons learned kind of meeting where we gather together and talk about what we did well, what we did not do well, and areas of improvement. We call it Scrum Master in Scrum, and then we call it Coach in Extreme Programming, right? They are just basically agile project managers for each of the. Then we have the Scrum team. We call it development team. In the Extreme Program, we call them team. Basically, they're empowered cross-functional team members. Then Scrum, we have daily Scrum. In Extreme Programming, we have daily stand-up. Basically, just a brief meeting every day that tells you the status of the product or the project. Um, I think this is basically what Extreme Programming talks about, and I don't know if we have questions. Do we have any questions? Any questions?